All right, so here's the deal. The wife made me go to Disney with the kids. It was meh, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. But when I went to Savvy's workshop, I got a lightsaber, just like everybody else. And, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. It... There we go. Now it works. Ha ha! It works. Okay, so I don't know why it doesn't work all the time. That really bothers me. Anyway. Alright, welcome to the channel, blah, 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 whatever. Look, for anybody who doesn't know what Hollywood Studios is, they have lots of things to buy and see. You can see stuff too, but one of the buys is a lightsaber from Savi's workshop. There, you don't just, buy it. It's an experience. So once you're done with that, you can consume these super cool Kyber Crystals at a different store, the expensive store, I might add. There are a total of 15 or 16 crystals, depending on how you count, but there are really only like 7 colors. Blue, green, purple, white, yellow, and red, and black, but really red. Each of the non-reds has 2 variants, but I didn't really care about those. There are 4 red crystals with various Sith badasses, and 1 really rare black crystal with another Sith who's also in the films. As you've seen, though, putting a crystal in the saber makes it that color, and the sounds and pulses are different for each. It's pretty cool. The black crystal still makes a red blade because a certain someone who is super not special and kind of lame, let's be honest.
Let the hate flow through you.
Anyway, the crystals can also be put into these holocrons. There's a Jedi one and a Sith one. Stupid knots. Why didn't I untie these before I started the video? God! Alright. So, I got these 2 Jedi holocrons. God! Why did I... Stupid... So much preparation. So I get home with all this crap, and I start thinking about how all this stuff works. Clearly the crystals have RFID chips in them, so I went out and found all the codes hoping to hack the black crystals to sell on eBay. For completionist nerds like me who have wives who don't want to spend $15 a piece on plastic crystals in the hopes of finding a 1 in 100 black crystal. I mean, really, whose wife isn't willing to let their husband throw away like $50 to find a Chirrut Imwe white variant, a crystal inhabited by a blind guy who didn't even have a lightsaber? But I digress. The thing that makes all this a little less interesting is that the MP3s that store all the sounds are on board the Saber core and the holocrons themselves, meaning that if Disney wants to add more crystals, they would have to actually release updated versions of everything, rendering my plastic crap somewhat less useful. The RFID chips in the crystals themselves only contain a 4-digit code that tells the sword and holocrons which one it is. This severely limits the amount of fun we can have hacking these not toys. Also, I decide that I don't want a cease and desist from Disney, and I abandon the idea of making and selling these black crystals. But then it hits me. I want a badass display for my wall that incorporates all 10 of the crystals, the 2 holocrons, and the lightsaber. After talking to the nerds at work and whiteboarding a bunch of different designs, some of which were totally even more awesome than my idea, I have settled on this. Go out to photos.google.com because that's where I keep all my stuff. Oops. Nope, not photos.com. That would be dumb. Why can't I type? Okay. I want to build... Shit, where'd it go? I want to build this. I want the far background to be a piece of wood in the hexagon shape with the little bump outs that the Sith have. I'll make that out of wood and paint it red. I'll try to get it as glossy and as shiny as possible. The black on top of the wood will be acrylic, hopefully. Again, super shiny black acrylic. Again, with the inner logo, same deal as just, black acrylic. I do have access to that laser cutter, so looking to maybe get some help there from a friend. And then across here, I realize there's only 3 crystals showing on each side, but the goal would be to have 5 total crystals on both sides. What's missing from this picture is just like a holder device of some kind. They're just kind of there as a placeholder. So there'll be black acrylic here for that. I'm not sure if they'll go up or down, but we'll kind of make that judgment once I kind of see how this black acrylic goes here. And they may go straight out this way depending on the size of the thing, but those measurements we still need to make. Obviously these crystals are a little bigger than they probably will be in the final piece. The Jedi holocron and the Sith holocron, I just kind of found a Photoshop or a photo of them and threw them on the shop. They'll just kind of float at wonky angles. Again, I'll probably use a clear acrylic to hold them there, but the goal would be that they would be at funky angles. And then finally, the lightsaber would be vertical across the whole thing. The handle itself, I was thinking, would look great if it kind of fell off the bottom of the actual piece itself. The idea being that whatever the latching mechanism that holds onto the lightsaber at the bottom would kind of come down off of the Sith logo and then grab a hold of the lightsaber at the bottom. So that's the design we're looking for. And up next will be my requirements. Okay, so here are the requirements for this project. Number 1, it must hang on the wall. Number 2, it must have motion detection. When I walk in the room, I want it to light up and do something cool. Number 3, it must have a shelf for the 10 Kyber crystals. I'd like 2 separate shelves, one for the Sith crystals and one for the Jedi crystals. Number 4, it must have a vertical holder for the saber and the blade. Number 5, it must have a holder for the holocrons, and I want to make them appear as though they're floating at weird angles. I think that would make it look extra cool. Number 6, must be blinged out with tons and tons of LEDs. Number 7, must be updatable via either Wi-Fi or a port that's hidden somewhere on the unit. I just don't want the port to be visible. Number 8, must be backed by the Sith logo. I'm really digging the idea of the hard edges and dark colors of the Empire Sith style of the original trilogy. Number 9, must make my nerd friend jealous. Number 10, must be a shrine to worship at. Number 11, must make me lose weight without eating properly or exercising while also being borderline alcoholic. Number 12, must help me channel the hatred I feel towards society. Number 13, must be able to satisfy me sexually. 14, must help me please the Dark Lord Plagueis the Wise. And number 15, must make my enemies kneel before me. So now that we have all that in mind, in the next video, we're going to wire up all the LEDs and see if we can get going on the breadboard with the Arduino. One thing to note is that this guy, in the end, may not have enough juice to power all the stuff that we are going to put on it. I've never actually had to use an external power supply. I haven't had this particular problem yet, so I'm looking forward to dealing with that. So that may be also something we deal with in an upcoming video. I have some friends who I think might be able to help me with that particular problem. Okay, so there are 2 parts to this project. The first part is just the wood backing piece and the plexiglass that's going to sort of hold all the mount together. It'll hold the lightsaber and the holocrons and things of that nature. But the other half of this project is purely electronic. Lots of LEDs, motion sensors, and things of that nature. So I just wanted to kind of go over the parts that I've purchased to get us started. The first is I got an Arduino Uno Wi-Fi. I've worked with the Uno a lot, and I like it pretty well. I've never used the Wi-Fi, however. I'd like to give it a try and see if I can actually get that up and running. So this is that's going to be the brain of our project here. I purchased a whole bunch of these LEDs off of Amazon. There's about 1 million variations of these things, but the one thing that I was looking for when I picked all these up is that they're individually addressable and that I can solder them together in a chain. So they all come apart. I know it's kind of hard to see there, but they all come apart into individual LEDs, and then you can just pass data on one channel and power on the other ones, and you can sort of chain them together. So that's going to be most of the LEDs. I'll use a regular breadboard to to build the initial version of it. But when I'm ready to solder everything together and make it permanent, I got a couple of these guys project boards that are sort of a little bit more permanent. I recently learned my lesson, and I'm on the lookout for boards that actually have the power that goes all the way around for you, so you don't actually have to run the power rail on each one yourself. I save a lot of time, I think, with that. I have the motion detector that I'm going to be using. So this guy I'm a little concerned about because it's white and it's kind of big, and I wanted everything to be really dark and black. But we're going to sort of fiddle about with where this can go in the build, and we'll talk more about that later. But in the meantime, I just want to make sure I can set up the motion detector itself. I got like 6 of these because I had read on the internet that these are super they come dead on arrival often. So I got like 6 of them. Hopefully, maybe one will work, hopefully more. So this may be a problem area for us, but we'll see as we go along. And then finally, I also purchased these photo cells. So these will basically measure the amount of light, and then it does an action based on the amount of light that it gets. Now, I've actually worked with these once before. Years ago, I built one of these Picos, and they're just little noise generators. But you can just make little ugly noises. But the cool thing about it is that when you go near a photocell, it reacts. So this is the same thing as this here, and you can control the reaction of the audio just by moving your hand closer or further, or giving it more light. Like if you go really close to a light, it really reacts. Okay, so we're going to be using these, and the idea here would be that if a Kyber crystal is in the little hole that it sits in, it'll be close to this and not getting a lot of light, and will shine the LED. If you pull the crystal out of the little holder, it'll turn off the LED because it'll sense that there's, ambient light from the room. We're going to have to fiddle with this a lot to get it to work, but that is my goal anyway. When you pull the Kyber crystals out, I want the LEDs underneath to turn off, just for that particular one. So hopefully this is everything. I may get into some things where I'm trying to have a speaker where I'm throwing out some audio. I haven't sort of worked that out in my head yet, but that's a project for, maybe later in this project. Like a sub project once I get all of the wiring and the LEDs done. So the LEDs and the motion sensing, that's the next video. Until then, see you later.